When we speak about silent pain, we enter a realm that is deeply human yet rarely acknowledged. Every person in this audience has carried some form of inner weight at one point, disappointments unspoken, fears never articulated, and sadness buried beneath layers of composure. And it is remarkable how life trains us to appear strong even when the heart is quietly unraveling. We smile when we are breaking, we reassure when we ourselves are uncertain, and we keep moving forward because the world rarely pauses for our wounds. But while people may never fully grasp what you hold inside, Allah does. He is the one who sees what you suppress, understands what you cannot explain, and hears what you are too tired to express. The Prophet ﷺ reminded us that Allah is closer to us than our jugular vein, not merely in physical proximity, but in his intimate awareness of our emotional landscapes. There is something profoundly comforting in knowing that the moments no one sees are the moments Allah pays the closest attention to. Many times a tear slips out not during a tragedy, but in the quiet moments when the distractions fade, the late night drive, the pause after prayer, the silence of your room when everyone else is asleep. These are not random, emotional releases. They are the heart's way of acknowledging its own fragility, and Allah responds to that fragility with a mercy far greater than any human response could ever be. People may misinterpret your silence, they may overlook your exhaustion, but Allah never does. Your internal chaos is as clear to Him as your spoken words. Your emotional tremors are recorded with the same precision as your actions. Nothing is lost, nothing is unnoticed. And this awareness from Allah is not passive. It is active, deliberate, compassionate. When you endure something quietly, without seeking validation or sympathy, Allah elevates you just for that sincerity. There is an entire spiritual dignity in silent endurance. Psychologists today speak a lot about emotional resilience, about regulating one's inner world without external reinforcement. Islam taught this long before modern terminology existed. Your ability to remain stable in front of people while falling apart only before Allah is not weakness. It is a sign of spiritual maturity. It reflects the understanding that human beings may empathize, but only Allah can truly heal. Sometimes we cry in silence not because we fear judgment, but because we don't even have the words to describe what's hurting. And this is where Allah's knowledge becomes a mercy beyond description. You don't need to articulate your pain for Him to understand it. You don't need to justify your tears for Him to validate them. You don't even need to form coherent sentences. A broken Ya Allah is enough for Him to comprehend what your heart is trying to say. That is the beauty of a relationship with Allah. Nothing is too subtle for Him. Nothing is too hidden. Nothing is too quiet. And perhaps this is why silent tears carry a spiritual weight that loud expressions often don't. They are raw. They are unfiltered. They come from a place beyond performance, beyond expectation, beyond pride. They are the heart revealing its most vulnerable truth directly to the one who created it. And Allah never lets those moments pass without purpose. The tear you cry alone becomes a witness for you on the day of judgment. The pain you carry privately becomes a means of drawing closer to Him. The sadness you hide becomes the very reason He lifts you in ways you never imagined. So, the next time you feel unseen by people, remind yourself that you are never unseen by Allah. The next time you wipe away a tear before anyone notices, know that Allah already saw it, and He recorded it with honor. Your silent pain is not a private burden. It is a private conversation with the one who understands you completely. And when you walk away from this moment, carry one truth with you. The tears you cry in silence are often the very moments when Allah is closest to writing a new chapter of mercy in your life. There is a profound wisdom in the reality that hidden struggles are often the pathways to our deepest spiritual growth. It is easy to think that ease and comfort are the natural markers of a successful life, but the truth, as the Quran and the prophetic tradition teach us, is far more nuanced. Growth rarely comes in moments of abundance. It emerges in the crucible of hardship, in the tension of challenge, and in the quiet spaces where our hearts confront suffering alone. When you face trials that no one else knows about, when the weight of life presses upon your chest and you cannot articulate it to another soul, that is precisely when the soul is being refined. Allah allows these struggles not to break us, but to build us from within. They become private classrooms, and He is the master teacher. Think about it. Human beings naturally resist discomfort. We avoid pain, we hide from it, we try to anesthetize our hearts with distraction. But when avoidance fails, when circumstances push us to the limits of our endurance, a choice appears, either despair or growth. Silent struggles compel us to confront our inner weaknesses, our attachments, our illusions of control. They force us to recognize that we are not the ultimate authors of our fate. And in this recognition, something remarkable happens. The heart begins to shift its focus from self-reliance to reliance upon Allah. The mind, once preoccupied with worldly concerns, learns to turn inward toward contemplation, reflection, and prayer. What feels like suffering is, in fact, the soil in which our character and faith are cultivated. Psychologically, this process mirrors what modern research calls post-traumatic growth. People often emerge from hidden struggles with greater resilience, empathy, and self-understanding. Spiritually, Islam elevates this even further. The pain endured privately becomes a source of purification and closeness to Allah. When you cry alone, when you feel misunderstood or unseen, when your heart aches in silence, these moments are not wasted. They are acts of spiritual training. They teach patience, humility, and the subtle art of surrender. The heart learns to trust that the one who sees everything, the one who knows what you cannot even name, is fully capable of guiding you through the darkness. It is also important to understand the relationship between suffering and sincerity. Public trials can sometimes be accompanied by recognition or support, but hidden struggles strip away external validation. They leave the heart vulnerable, unshielded, and fully dependent on Allah. In that space, the dua you make, the tears you shed, the quiet moments of reflection, all of it carries a purity and intensity unmatched by any other circumstance. Allah does not merely witness these private struggles. He actively transforms them into opportunities for spiritual elevation. The hidden trial becomes a bridge between the temporal suffering of this life and the eternal reward of the next. We often desire immediate relief, a quick escape from discomfort, but true spiritual refinement requires patience and introspection. It requires a willingness to sit with discomfort, to allow it to teach rather than overwhelm. This is why the Quran repeatedly reminds us that after hardship comes ease, but the ease is not merely a return to comfort. It is a reward for having endured the refinement of hardship. Your hidden struggles, though painful, are shaping a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah than you could have been otherwise. So when you face trials that no one else knows about, when your heart aches in private and your tears go unnoticed, recognize that these are the moments in which you are most profoundly being transformed. These silent struggles are not signs of weakness. They are indicators of divine preparation. They are the quiet forge in which your faith, patience, and inner resilience are strengthened. Remember this: the private pain you endure today is the spiritual capital of tomorrow. It is an investment in a heart refined, in a soul elevated, in a connection with Allah that cannot be measured by words or applause. If you can embrace the hidden struggles, understanding their purpose, you will discover that your suffering is not an obstacle to growth. It is the very pathway to it. There is a subtle power in the quiet moments when a believer turns to Allah in prayer, moments that go unnoticed by the world but are witnessed fully by the Creator. It is easy to assume that the loudest expressions of emotion carry the most significance, that the most visible acts of devotion are the most effective. But this is a misconception. True spiritual depth is often cultivated in silence, in the private spaces of our hearts, where the veil between us and Allah is thinnest. When you pray alone, when your dua is whispered and your heart trembles with sincerity, these moments carry a potency that no public display can replicate. The loudest cry can sometimes be hollow, while the quietest plea can carry the weight of a universe of need and longing. This is the paradox of the unseen dua. The less anyone notices it, the more powerful it can be. Consider for a moment the nature of sincerity. When you pray publicly, there is always a risk, conscious or unconscious, of seeking validation or approval. But when you speak to Allah in the silence of your room, when your lips move only for Him, the prayer becomes an undiluted act of devotion. Your heart is exposed, your weakness is visible only to Allah, and your reliance is placed entirely on Him. Psychologically, this aligns with the idea that authenticity is heightened when the audience is the one who truly matters. Your dua becomes a reflection of your innermost state, a mirror of your soul, and it is in this mirror that Allah gazes with infinite knowledge and compassion. There is also a profound link between the unseen dua and resilience. Life does not always provide immediate relief, and often our cries for help seem to echo back unanswered. But the unseen dua builds a form of spiritual endurance that public affirmation cannot. Each whispered plea, each tear shed in private, strengthens the heart's connection to Allah, reminding us that the one who listens is also the one who sustains. The unseen dua teaches patience, perseverance, and trust. It reminds us that even when outcomes are delayed, the act of turning to Allah itself is transformative. There is power not just in what is answered, but in the very act of surrender. Philosophically, this teaches us about the nature of divine intimacy. Allah's knowledge encompasses all things, and yet He chooses to engage with us personally, to respond to our silent calls with care that the world cannot perceive. The heart that whispers in the darkness is recognized, valued, and honored. This is a form of communication that transcends words. It is the language of vulnerability, humility, and pure reliance. Your quiet dua is not merely a request. It is a profound interaction with the one who understands your needs before you even articulate them. It carries layers of meaning, shaping not only your circumstances, but your character, your empathy, and your understanding of life's trials. In practical terms, this should motivate us to cultivate our private moments of prayer and reflection. To embrace the quiet dua is to acknowledge that our relationship with Allah does not depend on applause, recognition, or even visible results. It flourishes in the inner life, in the sacred spaces of our hearts where He is present even when all else is absent. The unseen dua becomes a source of strength, a reservoir of patience, and a testament to the depth of our faith. It is often in these private moments that the seeds of transformation are planted, quietly growing until they bear fruit in ways we could not anticipate. So remember this: the whispers of your heart, the tears that fall when no one is watching, the prayers uttered in secret. They are more potent than you realize. They are not insignificant, they are not unnoticed. They are acts of devotion that shape your soul, strengthen your resilience, and deepen your connection with Allah. Your quiet dua is a powerful force, and in embracing it, you are engaging with a presence that sees, understands, and responds in ways beyond human comprehension. Never underestimate the unseen power of your sincere, private supplication. Every tear you shed in private carries a significance that transcends the immediate moment. The world may never see it, friends may never notice it, and sometimes even your own heart may struggle to fully comprehend it. Yet Allah, the knower of all things, does. In the Islamic tradition, the notion that our hidden struggles and unseen acts of devotion hold profound value is central to understanding the depth of divine mercy. When we cry in silence, when we endure trials privately, when we feel utterly alone in our pain, these moments are far from wasted. They are elevated by Allah and recorded as acts of worship. This is a revolutionary concept. Suffering, when experienced in sincerity and patience, is transformed into a bridge to the divine. Think about the psychology of hidden suffering. Human beings are inherently social, and we seek validation and empathy from those around us. But when that validation is absent and our struggles remain unseen, it is natural to feel invisible, even insignificant. Yet, within this very space of solitude lies immense spiritual opportunity. When your pain is witnessed only by Allah, it becomes untainted by ego or the desire for recognition. It is raw, honest, and pure. The angels record these moments, and Allah himself acknowledges them. The private tear, the unspoken duh, the silent longing, remind us of our limitations, our dependence on Allah, and the futility of seeking validation solely from other humans. They foster introspection, patience, and an awareness of the unseen reality, which is the ultimate reality in the eyes of Allah. Every private tear you shed is a dialogue with the Creator, a conversation in which words are unnecessary because your heart speaks in the purest language of emotion and sincerity. Spiritually, this concept teaches us the value of enduring hardship with consciousness of Allah. When trials are faced alone, without outward recognition, they become a form of worship that is immeasurable by worldly standards. The Quran and Hadith repeatedly affirm that Allah sees what is unseen, and that no act of devotion is too small, no tear too insignificant, and no hidden struggle goes unnoticed. The implication is profound. The very moments when you feel most isolated, most misunderstood, and most invisible are precisely the moments when your spiritual capital is being amassed. Your pain becomes a means of closeness to Allah. Your tears become a testimony to your sincerity, and your resilience becomes a source of reward that the world cannot quantify. Practically, this perspective has transformative power for the believer. When you recognize that every hidden act of devotion, every silent tear, and every private prayer is valuable in the eyes of Allah, it changes how you view suffering. Pain is no longer merely a burden to bear. It becomes a vehicle for spiritual growth and closeness to the divine. The hidden becomes sacred, the private becomes noble, and the unnoticed becomes eternally significant. This understanding can shift a heart weighed down by loneliness or despair into a heart fortified by purpose, patience, and trust. So let this truth settle in your heart. The tears you cry alone are never wasted. The moments of private struggle, the silent duhs, and the hidden acts of devotion are all recorded, honored, and rewarded by Allah. When you feel unseen, misunderstood, or forgotten by the world, remember that you are never unseen, misunderstood, or forgotten by the one who knows every hidden thing. Your private pain, your silent prayers, and your unseen devotion are sacred, and they are transforming you in ways far beyond your imagination. Carry this knowledge with you, and let it be a source of strength, hope, and unwavering faith. For Allah has promised that every tear shed in sincerity is a step closer to Him.